Tonight, the quarter-finals of this season's Champions League gets underway in Turin with a repeat of last year's final. Last June in Cardiff, a Ronaldo-inspired Real Madrid beat Juventus 4-1. But the Italian champions are at home tonight, where they haven't lost in Europe for 5 years. Two European heavyweights go head-to-head in a fascinating-looking tie, the first leg of which kicks off in 45 minutes' time. Good evening and welcome to the first of this year's quarter-finals. Over the next 8 nights, the last 8 teams in the Champions League will contest 8 games to see who'll be this year's semi-finalists. It should be out of this world.
Just about as good as it gets in European football. Superstars everywhere you look. Best players in the world for the greatest club competition in the world. This is the Champions League at its very, very best. Has changed the complexion of the tie. And Roma have the goal they so deeply craved. Lewandowski! Bayern Munich hit that on target. Holders are flexing their Champions League muscles. Pineda, there's the goal. The Sevilla have been threatening. Oh, he scores Messi. Messi's 100th goal in the Champions League. It's Aguero this time. Oh, look at that. How cool was that? And Salah! And Mane! Brilliant!
What a week of Champions League football we have ahead of us. 3 teams from Spain, 2 Italian sides, 1 from Germany, and the English representatives, Liverpool and Manchester City, will contest the 4 quarter-finals over the next 8 days, starting with tonight's games in Turin and Seville. And joining us this evening, we've got Rio Ferdinand and Frank Lampard, and the 8 teams left. It's all to play for, and it's very open, Rio.
Yeah, this is... To pick a favourite is difficult. My favourites based on experience and the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo in their team, I'll make Real Madrid my favourites. Not the bookies' favourite, but I just think that the experience, especially at this stage of the competition, is very telling. Well, let's see who's the bookies' favourite, Frank, and it's Barcelona, actually, which, considering the fact they've been unbeaten in La Liga this season, is perhaps expected.
Yeah, and I think they've got a slightly favourable draw. You'd expect them to get into the semi-final. The team they're playing against, Lionel Messi in your team, generally makes you a favourite at any stage anyway. But I think, listen, I think it's one of those years now where the tide seems to be turning slightly in Europe. English teams coming to the fore. I know we've lost a couple in the last round, but I do think the Spanish teams are topping out slightly, so it seems more open than any other year, and it will be the small differences in these massive games that get a team through.
Every round, I'll give you the chance to pick a winner. So if you just keep picking a different team, at some point you're going to get the right one. You still fancy Real Madrid, don't you? You just said that.
Yep, exactly.
And Frank?
I'm going to go for... on the spot there. I'm going to go for City.
Yeah.
Man
Why?
City.
Do you think they're
well, they've got a very tough game, so we'll come to that later and tomorrow, I'm sure. But I think in terms of the way they've played, if they play with the quality and the teamwork and the individuals that they have in their team, I think they're ready to take on the best. Yeah, the game that we're obviously looking forward to tonight, Juve against Real, two massively experienced European sides, Rio. Yeah, and like I said, I fancy Real Madrid in this to win it, but you can never discard experience, and Juve have that in abundance, especially in defensive areas where they're very compact and they know how to grind out results. And Juve's experience against Real Madrid as well, other than the final, the last
4 times in the knockout
4 ties with knockout stages, 2-legged affairs, they've won. I know. Their defensive record, 21 clean sheets in 25 games. This is stuff that is stuff made of champions, which they are in Italy and they're probably going to roll on to be. But when you take that into the Champions League, like Frank said, them little details of being able to know how to defend, know how to take care of results, makes them a team you can't just push over. Despite that record, it's a long time since Juve won it.
It is, and too long for a team, you know, a club the size of Juve, but the Italian League, I think, as we know, in probably recent years, that hasn't quite been at the standard that the Premier League, I feel, and the Spanish League have, in terms of enticing all the stars, that you need certain individuals sometimes in your team to get you over the line. And the 2 major Spanish giants have had those in Messi and Ronaldo in recent years, and that's what's made them dominant. But in terms of a team ethic and teamwork, Juventus certainly have that.
Well, it promises to be a terrific game this evening. We begin tonight with the 20th meeting between Juventus and Real Madrid. The most recent encounter was, of course, last year's final in Cardiff. 10 months on, these two European superpowers meet again for a place in the semi-finals. The first leg is in a rainy Turin, where Juventus are looking to preserve a 5-year unbeaten run at home in Europe. And they haven't lost at home to Real Madrid since 1962. Matt Smith is pitchside for us in Turin. Matt.
Gary, evening all from a wet Juventus stadium. The rain was lighter earlier, heavier now, but if the stature of a game at the quarter-final stage of the Champions League can be measured by how many boxes it ticks, this ticks plenty. Of course, it's a rerun of Cardiff and last year's final when Real prevailed. You've got Zidane back on his old stomping ground, the likes of Khedira and Higuain as ex-Real players. Juve with this long unbeaten record in Europe at home, 5 years and counting. They also have the better, as you know, of two-legged ties in recent times against the mighty Real Madrid, who of course are going for a 4th Champions League win in 5 years. That hasn't been seen since the famous Madrid team of the 60s. Madrid, the same team that started in Cardiff with Isco preferred to Gareth Bale. Juve with some changes, although a similar team to that which prevailed over Tottenham at Wembley, with Alex Sandro starting in front of Cuadro Asamoah. One to look forward to this. Juve, from all the mood music, desperate not to get beat in this first leg.
Yes, thanks very much, Matt. Let's see how we think these two teams will line up, starting with Juventus. Benatia and Pjanic are suspended, so Juventus are expected to start with the back four. 20-year-old Uruguayan Rodrigo Bentancur replaces Pjanic in midfield, and we expect them to line up that. We know how Juve play generally, Rio.
Yeah, we do, and I think Pjanic is a huge miss. He's somebody who takes the ball off the back four, dictates the play, controls the pace of play in this team, and he's someone who will be threading balls through to the likes of Dybala and Higuain, Juventus' danger men. So that's a big miss for them, I think, in their midfield, in their control area.
Yeah, I expect to see them exactly like that. They'll be very rigid in their defensive formation for sure. Very mechanical. They know what they're strong at and what they're good at, and that's defending in tight-knit groups. And then it's probably Douglas Costa giving some freedom to join the two up front of Dybala and Higuain, who can hurt anyone in world football. Yeah, well, let's have a look at the Real Madrid starting lineup and how we think they will shape up. They start with the same team that beat Juventus in the final last year. Zinedine Zidane rested 6 of tonight's starting 11 on Saturday, including, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo. And it looked, despite playing differently in the last round, looks like they're going to go back to that diamond in midfield, Frank. Yeah, I think we gave Zidane a lot of credit in the last week. The PSG, I think, going to PSG, pick young players, pick width in his team. We were kind of waiting to see if he'd do that today, but he's gone sort of tried and tested with a fantastic lineup. You can't argue against it. Isco, fresh off a hat-trick for his country last week. The rotation of Modric and Kroos and Casemiro midfield, they're probably the strongest midfield in world football. And then that man up front who has a knack for just attending these big games and making a big difference.
We thought it might be Juve's final. You didn't, Rio, obviously. You picked the winner, and Juve got off to a good start, but in the end, Real Madrid just overpowered them, didn't it? And it was almost though Allegri kind of gambled and got it wrong.
Yeah, and I just think when you're playing against a team like Real Madrid, you've got to take your opportunities when they come. Juventus had a couple of opportunities, and their men, their danger men, just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net at the right times. And against this type of team, who with Modric, Isco, and Toni Kroos, they control large parts of the game, and it's down to you then to be able to weather that storm and then punish when you get your chances. But like we said, when you've got that man in your team, Cristiano Ronaldo, who pops up and scores at any given moment when he gets an opportunity, it's always going to be hard.
I mean, they ran away with it very comfortably.
Yeah, I mean, the confidence, because the game early on, it looked like it might go against them, and we're all kind of waiting. People don't expect a team to win it 2 years on the run. It's very difficult to do. But the confidence, they use it. They never feel under pressure in a game. They're so confident in their own abilities, particularly in that midfield area where they start to take control of games, and they did in the final.
However, as you alluded to earlier on, the knockout games between Real Madrid and Juventus, the last 4 times, as you quite rightly said, Rio, that Juventus have come out on top, which will give them some kind of confidence.
That is something I'm sure Allegri will be clinging on to. He'd have made these players very aware of this, and I'm sure the Real Madrid players will be aware. These type of things do play on your mind. We saw at the weekend in the English Premier League, Spurs hadn't won at Chelsea for how many years? That's something that has to be changed at some point, and Real Madrid will be wanting to change that. But Juventus maybe cling on to that as a positive for them. It's hard for them to come here. They don't like coming and playing against us over two legs. We've got the experience. They're the type of things, mental warfare that go on.
Yeah, I mean, the mental side of the game is important. Confidence, isn't it, really?
Yeah, of course it is. And as Rio says, it's 28 years, actually, Tottenham.
Sorry.
But, no, but it is common. And they're in your mind. And I think the reason for seeing that stat there is the Italian teams do know how to approach these games, two-legged affairs. Will they come out today? Will they say maybe we can score a goal in the second leg away from home, and that's what we're worried about, and will they be strong? And they do approach these in a really strong way. But then you look at the individuals Madrid have. Can they make a difference?
Well, sure.